Hey, Shalom Akim. Myself, for giving all praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakha Kodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that taught me this word, and Shalom to the elect. That's what these lessons are for. Now, this lesson here is going to be somewhat of a history lesson. You know, we're going to go into the book of First Maccabees. I'm going to start, and I'm going to also go into the book of Daniel, the 8th chapter, and I'm going to, go into certain history, for the edifying of the elect, man. This is First Maccabees chapter 1, and I'll start at verse 1. It reads, "And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Shittim, had smitten Darius the king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece." Now we know that Alexander is talking about Alexander, as the world will call him, Alexander the Great, which we refer to him as Alexander the Greek. All right. Now, that Darius that he had smitten was Darius the Third. Okay. And, when you go into the Akkadian dynasty, which was the Medo-Persian Empire, you would find that out. All right. Now, the last person on this list, Salakia, is Darius III, Alexander's flawed Persian rival. All right. And this is the Darius that he took down. Okay. Prior to Darius III ruling, there was Xerxes ruling, or as the scriptures refer to him, Ahasuerus. Then it was Darius the First. Then it was Cambyses the Second. Then you have Cyrus. Okay. So this was the Akkadian dynasty. All right. FactsandDetails.com. So, there's a lot of different information out there, for you to go into to understand these scriptures in the capacity where you need to understand it. But from here, I'm going to, matter of fact, I can read this. It says here, verse 2, "And made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth." Because why? Because now it was the time for the Greek Empire to rise. Now, when you go into the book of Daniel's, the scriptures tell you about, it tells you that there's 4 kings that shall arise from the earth. And the 4, you had the Babylonian Empire, which they were Assyrians, all right? Then you had the Medo-Persian Empire, all right? And then you had the Greeks and the Romans, all right? So we're going to start here at Daniel's 8 and 5. It reads, "And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his eyes." All right. And as you go on, you would find out what it was. Okay. Who that goat represented and who that notable horn represented. It reads, "And he came to the ram that had 2 horns." Now, that ram that had 2 horns was symbolic of the joint rulership between the Medo-Persian Empire. All right. Because the Medes were ruling at first. And then what happened? The Persians came up and they became a joint rulership. All right. You see what I'm saying? It says, "And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran upon him in the fury of his power." All right. And he slew Salakia. "And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him." Now, that word choler, let's look it up right fast. And he was moved with choler. It's from the Strong's GH4843. And it's in the Hebrew word marah. All right. Or ma'ar, Salakia. It says to be bitter, to show bitterness, to make bitter, embitter, to embitter oneself. It says to enrage. Okay. And that was the fall of the Medo-Persian Empire. All right? That's why it reads here, tells you right there, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, and reigned in his stead. So now it was time for the Greeks to come up. All right? So now let's go back. It says, Salak, it reads on, and I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his two horns. So what were the two horns? It was the Persians and the Medes. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him. But he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. So that was the fall of the Medo-Persian Empire, and now it was the time for the Greeks to rise. But as you continue on, it reads, therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken. Now that's talking about Alexander. Now, when you go back to the Maccabees and you read down, let's read down. All right, and let's find out about the little horn or the great little horn being broken. It reads, and made many, I'm going to start at verse 2 again, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth and went through the ends of the earth. Because why? Because it should be common knowledge that Alexander conquered what was of the known world at that time. All right? It reads, and slew the kings of the earth and went through the ends of the earth took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. So he was exalted and his heart was lifted up in pride. All right? You see what I'm saying? And like I always say, that's the same thing that Esau is going through now. You know, his heart is lifted up because of all the accomplishments the Lord allowed him to accomplish. His heart is lifted up in pride. All right? Now, as it continues on, it says, and he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him, including us, the Israelites. We became tributaries unto him. Well, when you read in the history, you'd find out that the Levites, okay, which today are the so-called Haitians, back then, they had prophesied unto Alexander and showed him where he was in the scriptures, man. All right? It reads on, and after these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die. All right? So that's when you go back to Daniel's, and it speaks about that, therefore the he-goat waxed very great. This is verse 8. And when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones towards the 4 winds of heaven. All right. So now this guy fell sick. Alexander is that horn. All right. In the he-goat. All right. It says, wherefore he called his servants, such as were notable, Salakia, honorable. So, well, ain't no honor among them Edomites, but I suppose honorable, in his eyes. It says, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. All right? So Alexander reigned 10 years and then died. So that horn, that little horn there, that great horn in the he-goat, it was broken when Alexander died. All right? Now, it reads on, and his servants bare rule every one in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. Now, so what did it say here? We back in Daniel's 8 and 8. Therefore, the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn, which is Alexander, was broken, because he died. He ruled 12 years and died. And for it came up 4 notable ones towards the 4 winds of heaven. All right. So now let's go back here and let's find out where these guys actually ruled, man. Bear with me for one moment. I got it here somewhere. Is this it here? Boom. This is it right here. After Alexander's death, his empire was divided among his 4 generals. So the Bible is a history book. All right? Known in Latin as the Diadochi, the name by which they are still referred. It says from the Greek Diadochi, meaning successors. It says like Samaeus, who took Tethris and much of Asia Minor. Cassander controlled Macedonia and Greece. Ptolemy I ruled Egypt, Palestine, Cilicia, Petra, and Cyprus. He founded the Ptolemaic dynasty, which lasted until the death of Cleopatra VII in 30 BCE, before the Common Era. So this was 30 BCE. This was before the Lord was born, because the Lord was born during the time of Julius Caesar, all right, which was the beginning of the Roman Empire, all right. It says Seleucid the first, Nicator, all right, ruled the remainder of Asia and founded the Seleucid Empire, which was comprised of Mesopotamia, the Levant, Persia, and part of India. All right. So this was the Diadochi. All right. These 4 generals, Lysimaeus, Cassander, Ptolemy, and Seleucid, and they all ruled in their own place, man. Alexander gave them these parts of the world to rule during when he was still alive, pretty much on his deathbed. All right. Now, where I'm at, going back, we got to go back to the Apocryphy. All right. And it says here, we going back here. First Maccabees 1:9. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. So what scriptures that make you think about? I'm going to go get it right fast. This is the book of Proverbs, the 29th chapter, and the 2nd verse. It reads, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Okay? And these devils, see them Greeks, the Greeks became the Romans. But here it is, we living in America, and all the remnants of ancient Rome are here. Because why? Because America is the last leg of the Roman Empire. All right? Scriptures in Revelation tell you about how the beast was wounded. All right? But his deadly wound was healed. How was it healed? Because it was revived, man. It was revived, in America. As a matter of fact, today is the inauguration of a president. You see what I'm saying? The scriptures tell you that this beast shall be diverse, from all the rest. Matter of fact, let me get that, man. Let me pull that up right fast. Daniel 7:7. It says, after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It's talking about the Roman Empire, which is the dragon. all right, which is NATO and the EU, the beast, all right? You see what I'm saying? It says, it devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it, all right? And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. How was it diverse from all the beasts that were before it? Because they didn't deal with a king. When you went into the Akkadian dynasty, I just went into it, it showed you that they had kings. Cyrus, Cambyses, Xerxes, Darius the First, Darius the Third. You know, you went into the Babylonians, which they were Assyrians. They had kings, and even the Greeks, they had a certain king, Alexander. All right. Now, once they became the Romans, they started to break off, and they had the Senate set up, man. They had Caesars and whatnot, all right? But they didn't have an absolute king. You see what I'm saying? Hey, man. So America is the last leg of the Roman Empire. You see what I'm saying? And today, crazy Joe Biden got into office, man. So, Lord will, man, this lesson was edifying. I pray Yahweh Shem Shad, put the spirit on me to do more lessons, edifying lessons for you brothers. And I'll see you on the next one. Shalom.